Jesus' name. This is a difficult one. How do we Christians avoid the sabotage that inevitably comes to us, having the effect of completely paralyzing us or preventing our progress? I can tell you that from my childhood I've been sabotaged by the devil. I would be very expensive to him. And his demon. As will many others. And even today, as I go about my practice and my work is sabotaged. So they haven't stopped. What they began 30 years ago, they're still doing now. The powerful gate now, to answer my question, or the question, how do we reduce that level of sabotage? Well, every time that you take up a new thing, demons are jealous entities. They're ridiculous entities. They're obsessive and jealous, and they're the ones sabotaging you. They're ridiculous. They have every low and evil desire. It's their entirety. So they hate to see you progressing in Jesus' name. But they would sabotage you for 30 years so that they could become your head. Sure, babies are thrown into the fire for them. These are repugnant beasts. So, the way that we avoid the persecution or the sabotage or whatever the demon is doing to come against you and prevent your progress in the world, whenever they present that difficulty, it's usually when you're trying to progress. Especially when you're doing something that God would want you to do, they will increase their attack. And feelings of, I couldn't be bothered doing that today, will enter in. Always. So it's going to be particularly hard for you to spend 2 hours at something when a demon is making it extremely difficult to carry out that task, isn't it? For example, you're trying to learn, like I am, the Bowron at the moment, and you'll have the technique, and then the demon will interfere with your calibration and your coordination of the utilization of that beater on that drum. And they'll actually prevent your progress in this manner. Or I'll be out busking and the demon will limit my head range and it won't let me sing like my voice is capable of doing. Because it's a jealous, rotten entity that doesn't want somebody that it failed to defeat clearly progressing despite its efforts to prevent it for 30 years. And so the horrid, rotten face of Satan is shown to his own servants that he pretends to care for. But they would much prefer to see you fail than have the pretense of dignity. Which totally exposes their true drive and intention. Kill, steal, destroy. That's it. And they never get off that page. So what do we do? At least 20 minutes a day. At least 20 minutes a day will see you progress despite a demon. Because when you go to do a task, I'm not bothered, do 20 minutes. Do 20 minutes. Even if the demon is trying to make you struggle and making it difficult for you, do at least 20 minutes and try and make that 20 minutes as best as you can. The best practice you can do. But because it's every day, it can be 20 minutes twice, 3 times a day. Because it's every day, you'll progress. They can't prevent your progress. Now, I'll be sitting on the side of the street singing songs, and the demon will be trying to mess with my head. They'll be preventing my ability to fully embody my gifts and abilities that God has given me. Supernaturally, they'll be placing barriers and boundaries and limitations on my voice or my playing ability, or just taking my focus off what I'm doing so it's not as good. Whatever. And at the same time as they're trying to sabotage me, they'll be manifesting in the people around, encouraging me. At that very moment where they're most pressing on me, they'll manifest in somebody and say, "Well done, I like your music." So it's like salt in the wound they're trying to open. See what I'm saying? So that's real. The intention of that is to twist you, and it's to make you sort of, bitter and resentful and hate what you're doing and hate people and just become hateful and bitter, and twisted. And that's what they do. Because you'd be thinking, these are disgusting entities, like they're sabotaging me in one hand, and in the other hand there's this pretense of people are being nice to the busker. You would say, well, people might be, and of course they might be, but it's definite, and I'm sure of this, that sometimes demons will actually manifest excuse me, just for the purposes of creating that bitterness in a person. They'll do the two opposites. It's like the ringer, they're putting you through the ringer. So they place the prevention of movement on one side and then start stretching you out on the other. So the prevention of movement is the difficulty that you're experiencing while you're busking or carrying out your daily task, so that you can't fulfill it to the best of your ability. And then the other thing is the compliment that you're doing really well. You see the point? But in your heart of hearts that that's not as well as you can do. And that's what's designed to twist you. And that's how the devil's twisting your arm to go to the world, that he might remove the difficulties of the demon or the persecutions of the demon. It's an arm twisting mechanism. But it's also designed to embitter you, and it's also designed as a sort of, see what you get when you leave Freemasonry. I literally heard a person mouthing that yesterday. See what you get? When they were right in the middle of persecuting me, the demons, while I was playing music. So you might hear the busker singing, and as far as the person's singing, they're just saying, that person's okay, they're not a great singer, but they're okay. It's a busker. Right? But I'm far away from what I can actually do. And that's the demonic limitation that has been set upon my singing or my playing. And I'll know that because as soon as I place my hand near my throat, my voice returns to being able to sing again. So I'll place my hand here and I'll start singing and the voice will be fine. As soon as I take my hand away and it goes back to my guitar, the demon moves back in, places limitations, and I can't access my voice. And sometimes they'll even jerk my head when I'm trying to sing and things of that nature. With just what I'm trying to busk, doing nobody any harm. Another time I was lying in bed and a demon pressed on my body and tore my deltoid muscle here. Another time they systematically pressed against my body to tear my side muscle. Another time they injured the inside of my leg while I was taking the bike out of the house. When I was turning left to push the bike, they flung my head to the right. And of course that opened the hip so that the hip flew that way. If you understand the dynamics of the physics, how that would propel it. And so my head going that way would propel my hips that way because they were already turning that way. So it would increase the momentum of the turn and it pulled the inside of my knee into my thigh, pulled that muscle. They're useless beasts. And the things they do, you're just going around the house like. It's like some lunatic got the controls on the PlayStation, the Sims game, you know what I mean? And they're just hurting the Sims around the house. And that's exactly what demons are like. They're like programmers that got into the cosmos and they're just gremlins just trying to wreck everybody's life. Because they're just jealous, bitter, useless madheads that want to see everybody fail. Basically, that's what a demon is. So, how do you get over that? Well, if God has allowed them to place that burden, He has allowed them to place that burden. But you don't need to neglect trying your best just because a demon is persecuting you or oppressing you or trying to sabotage you. Even now as I'm talking to you, they're pressing on me here. They're pressing on me to try and give me difficulties speaking. So that's the walk. Did you see that? A push there. That's the walk of a Christian preacher, and God allows it because He wants to strengthen us. So, I mean, to a demon, it's shame. It's shameful for a demon to press on a much weaker vessel like a human being. It's a complete shame to them. And that they would choose to sabotage their work and their talents and their gifts that God gave them to limit their progress and even the listening pleasure of the people around them. Because Satan will cut the nose off to spite his face. You know? But then they'll pretend about culture and being behind the music and encouraging the arts and all this, and then they'll ask for busking licenses in Waterford and Dublin. I mean, it's just preposterous. You know, the busker lives off people's gifts, and the government want them to charge them for a license fee on, you know, non-taxable income. It's just another ghastly face they put on these things. You know, like the flak all comes, and it's all on the basis of starter musicians who've learned, even young children who've learned, and they're setting up to busk. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's supposed to be the recognition of busking and the arts and gifting it and encouraging it and facilitating it for cultural appeal and benefit for the rest of society. And here they are trying to charge buskers a license fee and tell them when they can and can't play. which goes directly against freedom of expression and flies right in the face of freedom of speech and expression and the constitutional rights of the people of Ireland. But it's a demonic move. Why? Because they want to limit singing? No. Because they want to control who has a platform. That's ultimately where it's going. Bureaucrats are drunk on power. Because at the end of the day, they're sad, defeated entities serving the devil, trying to find self-worth. And so how they do that is to try and control people who have gifts and beautiful talents. Because then they feel like they're at least the master of a gifted person. Because they're sad, defeated entities. And that's where the devil operates. He operates through these bureaucrats that he places. Now, these people have gifts, but their gifts aren't the same as a musician's gifts. So actually, they're the ones who quite revere the gift that a musician has, singing or playing an instrument, because they haven't mastered it themselves. And that causes them a sense of bitterness, and that can be the case. Otherwise, it's just, we know better than society has always known. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, imagine you're a musician, you're just starting out, you're going out busking. That's scary. That's already quite scary, because you have to go out into the street and totally bare all of your work and your art, and you have to sing from your heart and deliver it to the people. And there's no guarantee that you're going to make any money. Sometimes you might make a little bit of money, sometimes you might make a little bit more, but no buskers are raking it in, guys. They're just not. Because you could go out one day and make €5. You go out another day, and very rarely, but you could make €50. But you're not going to be out there every day. Like, I tried it. I tried to be out there most days, like 3-4 hours a day. It wrecked me. You can't, humanly, you cannot do it. At least not the rate that I was doing it at. Because I would sing one song after another, like I was doing a gig, which probably wasn't as wise. But now I do maybe 1 hour a day, or at least 1 hour at a time. I might do 2 hours a day, but they'll be an hour quite far apart from one another, which gives my body plenty of time to recover, especially my shoulders, because I've got rotator cuff injuries. So I have to manage them. But like bureaucrats pressing on and encroaching on the free rights of a person to express themselves within society is actually a treasonous and felonious motion. And they should know better up in Dublin and in Waterford. But I can tell you now, out of my heart, I know that I have a constitutional right to go up to Dublin now and play my guitar, and nobody can stop me. Nobody. I can go to Waterford and play my guitar, and nobody can stop me. Nobody. And nobody can charge me for doing so any monetary fee, because I'm not earning taxable income and I'm not doing anything that requires payment or rates. So the fact that bureaucrats and local councils are saying you have to pay a fee to access this, you have to pay even more money if you have an amplifier. Why? What cost is an amplifier to the state? Did they buy the amplifier? Is it their amplifier? What cost has this amplifier given to state? This is all about control. Charging a busker a licensing fee when they have no guarantee of income is disgusting. It's disgusting. They're playing for free. There's no expectation of payment, and you want to charge them a license fee? The money that people give them is a gift from their heart, out of their hard-earned money. Who do they think they are, charging buskers a licensing fee? It's absolutely disgusting and reprehensible behaviour. It's actually felonious behaviour. They're making these municipalities a law unto themselves. These municipalities have to submit to the constitutional rights of the people just like everybody else. And they're not entitled to put a charge on what is the free right of a person. They're absolutely not. An amplifier is no cost to the state, so they cannot apply one. A freedom of expression is no cost to the state, so they cannot apply one. They start charging me licensing fees. What service are they giving me? What service are they giving me that isn't already contained within my rights, that they can charge me a licensing fee? What am I gaining from the state? I license a room here. I rent a room. I'm a licensee. I license the room. But I get the room. What are they actually giving me that I don't already have? Nothing. They're actually placing limitations and sanctions, telling me that I have to play in a certain space, certain distance, for a certain amount of time. They're placing sanctions that don't exist within the Constitution and cannot exist in bylaws to the reduction of a right. This is serious stuff. These bureaucratic municipalities have offended the rights of the Irish people, placing a license fee on singing a song in public. It's ridiculous. Do they think buskers need them all of a sudden to reasonably locate themselves at a distance from one from another? You think that a busker wants to compete with somebody else's singing voice? Do they think that they've solved a problem that never existed? These brilliant municipalities are solving a problem that wasn't even one, so they can get their hands on the money and control the situation to the reduction of certain people having access. That's what it's all eventually about, is preventing people access to speak and sing as everybody else. Because they're saying, well, you have to audition for a license. You have to audition for access to your constitutional rights? I'm telling you, I'm going to Dublin to play my guitar one day, and nobody will stop me. And I'm going to Waterford to play my guitar one day in Busk, and nobody's going to ask me for a licensing fee and get one. There's no such thing as a licensing fee on your constitutional rights. These people are actually at risk of imprisonment for placing a licensing fee on your constitutional rights. They're out of control. These municipalities are out of control. Seriously. It's like charging somebody to walk down the street. But this is how demons operate. They're detestable little siphons and parasites that want to suck the joy out of a beautiful cultural activity. Blessings in Jesus' name. And we'll continue to enjoy despite these foolish demonic entities operating inside of our fellow men. Blessings in Jesus' name.